Welcome to another episode of The Raw Truth. As always, I'm your host, BX Bad Boy. I'm going to make the clap go a little bit longer. And today we're going to talk about a few of my opinions of this nonsense that's going on because I've had enough. Like I said, I'm tired of the bullshit. Don't mind that. That's my back window or front window, depending on how you look at it. It's behind me, so technically it's a back window. Why everybody's shocked that all the people that were Blue Lives Matter when it suited them. But that's just human nature. We as a people, okay with shit when it suits us. Once it no longer suits us, then of course we turn on it. So they were all about Blue Lives Matter until Blue Lives had to defend against them. They somehow thought that the cops were going to be on their side when they invaded the Capitol. It's one thing when they were against the protests of Black Lives Matter. Okay? It's another thing when you're attacking our government. And you weren't just dealing with regular police, you were dealing with Capitol Police. So they had to do something. They couldn't just sit back and go, come on in, except for those who did. So, shocked that it went from Blue Lives Matter to, meh, fuck them. Of course, because anybody who turns against them, anyone particular, like I have no problem with the cops. I love cops, I got family that are cops, but of course, when the cops ticket me unnecessarily, or like when I was driving for Uber, the cop pulled me over because he got too close to me on the road, down the yellow line. He got too close to me, so he pulled me over because I was on my side of the road and he didn't like it, because I didn't do any other crime but get too close to the yellow line in his taste, which is not illegal. So when he pulled me over, he had nothing to charge me with. So he ran my license, he ran everything, he spoke to my customer who was in the back, embarrassing me to him. Who the hell is that? Hold on a second. Sorry about that, it was a phone call. I forgot to put my phone on airplane. That happens. But the cop he pulled me over and couldn't give me any ticket because I didn't commit any crimes. So he literally walked around my car, questioned the customer back because he didn't believe it was a customer. I had Uber signs, I had the Uber ID, I had everything that showed that I was an Uber driver. He tried to tell me I wasn't an Uber driver. You okay back there? And started questioning the customer and said, are you in an Uber? Blah, blah, blah. Let me see your license. Everything panned out. So he walked around my car looking for anything he could ticket me on. So what did he ticket me on? The stupid plate that goes over the license plate that from the dealership. But in my case, it said New York Giants. Because Giants fan, go Giants. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a fanatic. I haven't watched a Giants game in 30 years. Anyway, I just like the Giants and I like their colors, red, white, and blue. Anyway, so that's what he gave me a ticket for, because he couldn't do anything else. And of course, I curse cops when they do that. But I know not all cops do it. And I got more situations. I pulled over, dropped off my customers, and I got ticketed because I pulled over in what essentially would be a shoulder to let out the customer, because I'm not allowed to pull in front of the business because I'm not a taxi. So it took 3 cops to figure out what ticket to give me. Then they finally gave me a ticket for dropping off passengers improperly. I cursed cops, but I know it's not all cops. But before that, I wasn't cursing anyone. So of course, when it doesn't work in our favor, we're going to go against them, whoever it is. Now, would I do what they did and beat a cop to death because they were against me? Hell no. They make me angry when they give me these little minor tickets that are unnecessary. Like, I sideswiped the car because I reached for my son, so the steering wheel is very sensitive, so just a slight this will turn the whole vehicle. So I reached for my son and The steering wheel was in the left hand, so it turned when my whole body did, and sideswiped the car, leaving some massive damage. No danger, no one got hurt. I left my information on the door or on the window because I had to take my son to school. I came back. They called me. I showed up. The cop gave me a careless driving ticket, which was unnecessary. And I remember the law stating he had to witness the crime to give you a ticket for it. But whatever. So I got mad and I cursed him. In my head anyway, not to his face, because I have respect. I was still angry though. But would I beat the crap out of him for something like that? Of course not. Because I still respect the cops. Because they're out there every day risking their lives to protect me, even if sometimes those who protect me when it suits them bother me when it suits them. I still will not attack them. I don't go on and bash them. Now, I said to my brother in many videos ago, when I spoke to him on the phone, I said, from our experience living in the hood of the Bronx, we know cops are corrupt. Not all, just we know cops are. So he took it as all cops. Now, one of our brothers is a cop, and I know he's not corrupt. But that was a blanket statement, because it's not like one or two here and there. It's like a couple thousand all across the country. And in some circumstances, like a minority area, it's like magnified to a couple of hundred per precinct. As long as you're black, as long as you're brown, as long as you're an immigrant, as long as you're poor. If you're rich, they treat you like gold, no matter what crimes you're committing. And Donald Trump is proof of that, because he's committed more crimes than anyone I've ever noticed. And I'm talking about mobsters, gangsters, gangbangers. Like I said, I grew up in the South Bronx. I grew up around gangs, and they've committed less crimes as a whole than Donald Trump, and no one's done a damn thing, because he's one of the elite. But he's not elite. He's a fucking crook. But he's got money. And doesn't matter how he got that money, he still has it. So, we can't do nothing to that man. Let's just sit back. Anyway, so the point here is, of course, there's no shock. I am not shocked that they decided to beat the shit out of cops that they turned around and were defending just a couple of months ago against BLM. I'm not shocked. Because, unfortunately, BLM is no different. Now, I don't recall in the news of them beating the crap out of cops or killing cops, and I mean BLM, not saying that cops have not been killed. There's a difference of cops being killed, and there's a difference of BLM killing cops. Either way, once all the injustices took place, which is against us, BLM stormed everywhere and protest, and we're loud, and we're trying to fight for injustice to be justified, to be justice. I know that didn't make any sense perhaps to some, but some understand what I'm meaning. But that's because the cops turned on us. They were no longer in our benefit. And yes, I put myself in their category, in their shoes, because I grew up with minorities, blacks, Spanish, Chinese, anyone that the law dictates beneath them. And I've had situations where I was treated as bad as they were, except for the beating part. But I was accused of shit. I was threatened. I was like my cuffs were way too tight. Like, you left marks, almost blood coming out of my wrists, and being told that I was gonna get the shit beat out of me by a tire iron. So I may not have had it as bad, but I have had my experiences where cops were abusing their authority and power. So my point is this: I put myself in the same shoes as them. without question when it comes to dealing with the police. But we didn't turn on all the police. And defund police does not mean take away all their money. If the police need, we'll just say, $900,000 to run, just say that's what they actually need, to pay all the police, to pay all the bills like the lights, equipment, so on and so forth. And that includes cars. There's no reason why they should have $2 million of taxpayer money that they do not need. So they can have some fucking bankroll. It's supposed to be, as best way to put it, a non-profit organization. So they're not supposed to be having a bankroll, money sitting in the bank for them to use whenever the fuck they feel like, for whatever they want. Oh, we need 10 more helicopters. Why? You don't use them now. They don't benefit city anyway. They only benefit out in the sticks, because all the buildings make it very complicated to get low with a helicopter. They can only go above, like in New York City, they have to be above the Empire State Building, because they can't, or they're going to hit the building, they're going to get drafts, and they're going to end up fucking crashing. That's why the helipad is on the top of the building in the cities, not on the ground. And the ones that are on the ground are out by the water, where there are no buildings. Convenient? Anyway, point being, there's other facilities that are needed. Like domestic violence needs a cop and a psychiatrist or a therapist, or at least a social worker, to go out there and try to squelch it. Someone who's having mental problems, they are either mentally handicapped or they're psychotic and it just cracked, or they got split personality. You can't send a cop to deal with that, because when he sees the cop, automatic aggression thoughts, because he's got a gun, handcuffs, and the history of aggression from the police. So his brain is fried. He's going to attack. But if a social worker showed up too, the social worker can talk him down and try to calm him. I've had some mental dealings with me personally and with people I know. So I know I can talk someone down. I've done it. I've talked multiple people from committing suicide. I talked to multiple people from jumping off buildings. I talked to most of the people about stopping them from committing homicide. I've talked hundreds of people down from a situation, from a ledge, however you want to put it. So I know it can be done. But a cop's not going to do that. A cop's going to pull out his gun or his taser and shock and or shoot the person. Now, what if that person's on a ledge and you shock them, but it doesn't hurt them, doesn't bother them? So then he continues to come at you. You're going to be forced to shoot him. So since you're forced to shoot him, you're forced to kill him. But that's your fault, because you aren't capable of handling the situation. Just getting an immediate end is not handling it. You don't solve the problem by killing the problem. You just get rid of the problem, not solve it. That's like the coward's way out. Now, I'm not saying cops are cowards, but they're forced. They got no other choice. They don't have the mental training to mentally deal with certain situations and help talk someone down. Now, there are some cops that have empathy and sympathy. Those cops talk people down. There's been times, I'm not going to tell you how many, but there's been times where a cop talked me down, but not from suicide, from something else, and calmed me to the point where the way I dealt with the situation changed. The aggression was starting to be gone, and I backed away instead of tearing someone's head off. But that's because that officer had empathy and sympathy for me. And once the situation calmed down, the person I wanted to rip their head off had to pay the price. I may not have preferred the justice that was served, because when I was angry, I wanted to serve that justice. But either way, the justice was served. They had to pay the price, and I didn't go to jail, and I didn't have blood on my hands. So it can be done. But not every cop has empathy. Most cops that join the force walk into the force without empathy. They may have sympathy, but not empathy. Sympathy is useless. Because you know what? When you show sympathy to me, I look at it this way. You're just saying that when it's sympathy. Empathy, you're still doing the same thing, but the person can tell you truly understand how they feel. You could put yourself in their shoes. Because if you can't put yourself in somebody's shoes, sympathy is all you can be. You don't care. Yes, every time you see me, I'm drinking Dr. Pepper. So, if you don't have empathy, you're not going to help talk someone down. Now, psychiatrists, social workers, therapists, well, not all of them, some are just robots. But for the most part, they have empathy. That's why they get into the mental field, because they got a great deal of empathy and they understand people's pain and they can walk in their shoes, so to speak. I've watched movies, I've watched friends and family, and I walked in their shoes, where I literally felt their pain as if it was my own. Not just go, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. See, this is the best way to explain sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is like, oh, fuck, man. Yo, if that happened to me, I don't know what I'd do. That's empathy. Sympathy is, oh, that sucks. Thank God it didn't happen to me. That's sympathy, unfortunately. So if you can't feel someone's pain, you can't talk them down from it. You can only tell them you feel sorry because you don't like that they're being hurt by something. That's fine. There's nothing against it, nothing really wrong with it, but you ain't talking anybody down with it because you don't really care. And what I mean by you don't really care is, like, to truly fully care, you have to have empathy. You only partially care when you have sympathy. Like, shit. I'd hate to lose a pair of shoes too. But I just told you I was shot and they freaking stole my shoes. You can't understand where I'm coming from. That's sympathy. You can understand my loss. That's sympathy. Empathy is you like, wow, if someone shot me, I'd be afraid of guns from now on. I'd be afraid of people. Yo, I don't know how you do it, but wow, please tell me how you get through this. Because if it ever happens to me, I want to get through it too. Like, you get more involved. Sympathy is like, oh, that sucks. And in truth, no disrespect to those who deny and don't want to accept it. Your thoughts are, that sucks to be you. And you're not being nasty, but it is. It sucks to be you. Empathy is like wish. Oh God, I wish it never happened to you. That's empathy. Anyway, I'm tired of going through this lesson because I've been dragging it out on and on. Anyway, so these stupid douchebags, of course they're going to turn on the cops because the cops are stopping them from doing what they want to do. But that's what everyone does. If BLM wanted to do something and the cops interfered, they're going to turn on the cops too. And that's what happened when the cops shot tear gas at them and rubber bullets and powder and freaking pepper spray. They turned on the cops too. I mean, don't get me wrong, they already had beef with the cops because of the cops killing people left and fucking right these days. That all happen to be black, brown, or otherwise. And definitely not white. Of course, they're going to go, you know what? I'm done with you. Why wouldn't they? What would you do? Feel free to leave a message, a statement in the comments. What you would do if the cops turned on you. I don't care what your color is, or race. What would you do if the cops turned on you? You personally. The cop came over to you, picked on you, and treated you like shit. Would you go, yay, police? Or would you be like, fucking cops? What would you do? And if you tell me you would accept their abuse and move on and all cops are great, you're a liar. I don't care who you are, you're a liar. So, them turning on the cops is not a surprise to me. Just like the cops that let them in, it's not a surprise to me. Because Black Lives Matter, white power, white supremacists are all human beings. So why wouldn't they be able to get a job as a police officer? And especially since our argument is that cops are abusing their power, right? That's our argument. They're picking on blacks, browns, and minorities, essentially being racist. Wouldn't that make them as bad as white supremacists? So wouldn't that possibly make them white supremacists? Possibly. So it doesn't matter what you believe in racially. You believe in Black Lives Matter, you believe in White Lives Matter, all lives matter, you can become a cop. And of course you're going to follow through with your belief, whatever that is. So there had to be a ton of cops that believe in Donald Trump and his racism. And Joe Biden's about to be inaugurated in 10 minutes. So why else wouldn't they be trying to let their people in? They try to storm the Capitol for no reason. Because this is ceremonial, the counting of the electoral votes. Their electoral votes are already in. They don't need to be certified to exist. And Congress would have to be wiped out, and all the protesters and rioters would have to become the new government, which is not going to happen. So, that being said, they would still count the votes, Biden would still be president, and they would lose. On that note, peace.